It took me 6 years to finish my undergraduate degree. I did it part-time, raising my young son at the same time. And my goal was to become a teacher of adults, so not a K-12, but in the college system and so forth. So once I finished, I got hired to teach literacy, which I taught for 5 years, and that was part-time contract. Fair enough. And at the same time, I started teaching in the college system at Durham College. And I taught there for well over a decade. What I learned while teaching at college was that my undergraduate degree was not going to be enough if I wanted to get hired full-time. So if you want to qualify for a full-time job, you needed a master's degree. So I enrolled in a master's program, and that I finished at 50. I actually defended my thesis 2 months after I got home from the hospital. So finished my undergrad at 40, my master's at 50. And since beginning the whole process at 34 to now, I have not been able to achieve the goal I set out to achieve, which was to get hired full-time in a job with my degrees that would give me career growth, financial stability, job satisfaction. That's what I believed my university degrees would give me. And you may have heard me share the quote from the book, The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. The greatest sources of our suffering are the lies we tell ourselves. So at the time, I believed the lie, drank the Kool-Aid, I guess you could say, that a university degree would be the golden ticket into job security, stability, and so forth. So well over a year now, I've applied for dozens of jobs that I would find satisfying. Often those types of jobs come with a lot of competition, so I expect that it would take a while. And I haven't had any success. Now, this is leading to what I started out talking about, feelings of failure. Now, some of you might be saying, well, why don't you dye your hair? Get rid of the gray. Yes, I know ageism exists, but hell no, the gray is here to stay. There's no way I'm going back to bi-weekly root touch-up, buying those box dyes and having to buy the box dyes because doing it at the salon is more like $200 a month. So that's not happening. Anyway, I would like to be obviously appreciated and valued for who I am. Now, speaking of the word value, I don't know how many of you have heard this before. If you follow any entrepreneurial or marketing gurus, you've probably heard it. But the saying that your bank account is a direct reflection of the value you offer. Now, how depressing is that? So if I believe that, I would think I have, well, basically no value, that I don't offer value. Because if your bank account is a direct reflection of your value, really that's saying that success and value is attached only to money. Now, I'm not going to say anything that hasn't already been said a million times before, that success is not measured by money. It's measured by the quality of your relationships and, among other things, your health and happiness. However, if you're unable to take care of your basic needs, that is going to lead to unhappiness and feelings of failure and questioning your choices in life. So it's funny that I do still facilitate bibliotherapy sessions. I love facilitating bibliotherapy sessions, particularly at women's shelters. I love doing public speaking. That's something I'm actively involved in, as you've seen on my channel. So when I do bibliotherapy sessions, one of the ones that's offered frequently is on the topic of failure and resilience. So overcoming adversity, failure and resilience. And one of the authors I often quote in those sessions is Seth Godin. So if anyone follows marketing experts, you've heard of Seth Godin, and he has a book called The Dip. And I have talked about this in videos before, but The Dip is basically it's a very brief, easy to read book. I'd highly recommend it if you are considering quitting something. Say you're trying really hard to accomplish something and you feel like quitting, and you're trying to decide whether quitting is the right decision for you, that book will walk you through the right questions to ask yourself to decide whether or not to quit. So I read that book repeatedly, 3-4 times when I was completing my thesis, my master's thesis, because that was one of the hardest things I ever did. I wanted to quit so many times. And I read The Dip, and it helped walk me through whether it made sense to quit when you were so far along to accomplishing your goals. Don't quit. Now, I didn't want to quit, but I was running out of tuition money. And when you can't pay your tuition, you can't finish your degree. So I was very fortunate to have been given help with that, and I was able to stick it out. But one of the points in the dip about that is that when you're in the dip is the time you want to quit, when it's hard and you just feel like you're going in circles and you're not getting anywhere, and it's easier, or it would reduce your anxiety just to quit and walk away. But then that creates anxiety later, because then you feel like a failure again. So anyways, The Dip is one book that I refer to. And another one that's kind of cool that was introduced to me by my old boss is this book. Let me see if I can put it in there. It's called My Biggest Mistake. Well, actually, My Best Mistake. Epic Fails and Silver Linings by Terry O'Reilly. And it's really cool because each chapter talks about someone who experienced what might have been considered failure, epic failures, that those failures or those mistakes ended up leading to their greatest success. And if you look at some of the headings in there, some of the chapters like the story of Jaws, Scooby-Doo, Billy Joel, Steve Jobs, The Who, Ellen DeGeneres, Popsicles. There's several chapters on very well-known people that had mistakes and experienced failure. Like they were at the point of needing to give up, and then things just turned around and led to their ultimate success. So I'd recommend this book, My Best Mistake. Even it's like got it smudged out, My Biggest Mistake smudged out, to read My Best Mistakes. So I just wanted to talk about that feeling of failure. When you're trying your best, maybe you're running a business, or you're offering a service, or you're applying for jobs, really anything you're doing in life to try and get ahead, and you feel like you're just not there yet. I remember I used to, when I was teaching communications to my college students, one of the courses I taught frequently was on job search strategies. So, resume writing, interview skills and everything. You'd think that would have made me an expert in finding a job. Apparently not. Anyways, but one of the things that I shared with them was really a message that I learned, is that every no gets you closer to a yes. So every failure, every rejection, keep embracing those. Keep accepting the no, because eventually, just by probability, eventually you'll get to that yes. And then you can stop feeling like a failure. Really, it's just a matter of having self-belief and knowing that you have something to offer, you have skills, you have value. Even if you don't have money in the bank to prove that you have value, you know you have value. All you have to do is ask someone that loves you. Anyway, so I just thought I'd share that in case anyone else is feeling like they're not as far along as they wish they were, they don't have the success they wish they had, don't have money in the bank, don't own things, don't have the nice clothes. Maybe I'm just rhyming off the things I wish I had. But nevertheless, I just want to say you're not alone, and it's normal to feel like that, especially if you're on the comparison cycle by looking on social media and so forth. So my message would be to reevaluate what you consider failure and really take a look at yourself and your past, maybe even look at your resume. Look at everything you've accomplished. Look at the degrees on your wall, the awards you've won, any messages that you've got from people that kind of reinforce the value that you offer. And stop measuring your success by the dollars you have in the bank. That is only one measure there are so many other measures. And maybe it's just a matter of asking someone, oh, I have a job interview, and if they say, tell me about yourself, what are 3 positive things I could tell them about myself? You can get reassuring information from the people that love you and know that you are not a failure. And I really appreciate you listening to me talk about this today, because even just talking about it can be helpful. So find a trusted friend, someone that you can rely on that will be honest with you and kind of help you walk through the negative feelings. You are not a failure. Thank you for listening to me talk about my feelings of failure, and hopefully together we can find success, even in small steps. Each day is its own success. Stay positive.